listening to Living with ADHD and CPTSD, available on Apple and wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello everybody and welcome to Season 2 opener ADHD episode for Living with ADHD and CPTSD. Today's episode we are going to talk about the relationship between ADHD and chronic procrastination. Procrastination is putting stuff off because it's something that we really don't want to do and would much rather do something more enjoyable or fun than something that we deem to be boring and difficult or not at all interesting in our minds. Everybody procrastinates, even neurotypicals, but people with ADHD have a tendency to do it more so than those that do not have ADHD. I have an article here that I would like to read that is going to be a much more detailed explanation of procrastination when it comes to ADHD. And then after that, I will discuss for a little about my own issues with procrastination. All right, here we go. Procrastination involves a tendency to delay a task or decision that needs to be completed by a specific deadline. Everyone procrastinates sometimes. When faced with a task that we just don't want to do, many of us will put it off until tomorrow, setting it aside until we feel less overwhelmed with all our other responsibilities, or simply waiting until we have more energy to tackle the task on a new day. Problems can begin to occur, however, if you find that you're putting off these tasks again and again, never getting to them later. This appears to happen quite often in people with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD, for a variety of reasons. This article discusses why people with ADHD tend to procrastinate and the impact it can have on their lives. It also covers some of the different ADHD symptoms that contribute to procrastination. The link between ADHD and procrastination. ADHD, of course, is a neurodevelopmental disorder that leads to symptoms such as inattention, impulsivity, and hyperactivity. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, 9.4% of children have been diagnosed with ADHD. While the condition is most frequently diagnosed during childhood, it can affect adults as well. The National Institute of Mental Health suggests that the prevalence of ADHD among adults is 4.4%. However, it is not uncommon for adult ADHD to be undiagnosed and untreated. People procrastinate for a wide variety of reasons, including the desire to engage in more interesting activities. For people with ADHD, procrastination is often strongly influenced by the symptoms of their condition. While common, procrastination is not recognized as an official diagnostic symptom of ADHD. In a 2014 study, researchers had expected procrastination to be connected to impulsivity, but instead found that it was connected only to inattention. Some research indicates that procrastination often serves as a compensation strategy for teens and adults who have ADHD. When faced with a challenging task, procrastination offers them a way to stop dealing with an unpleasant problem that they may feel is too difficult for their abilities. The factors that contribute to procrastination are complex and varied, but problems with executive functioning often play a key part. When confronted with a task, people with ADHD may struggle to make decisions on how to begin and how to monitor their progress. They might leave the task momentarily, only to get distracted by something else. All of these factors mean that tasks keep getting put off, sometimes until the last minute, In other cases, they may not get done at all. Effects of procrastination with ADHD. Many adults with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder struggle with chronic procrastination. This procrastination can cause problems at work when job responsibilities aren't completed until the last minute. It can cause financial stress at home when balancing the checkbook is constantly delayed or when bills are paid late. And it can cause problems in relationships when you continue to put off others, making them feel unimportant. Procrastination can also lead to negative moods and emotions, as well as low self-esteem. This failure to complete tasks can lead to feelings of frustration, guilt, and shame. Such emotions also contribute to the tendency to put off tasks. Evidence also indicates that people with more serious ADHD symptoms experience more procrastination, as well as internalizing symptoms such as depression and anxiety. Researchers suggest that helping people address procrastination may be helpful for reducing some of the negative internalizing emotions that sometimes occur in ADHD, such as guilt, sadness, shame, depression, and anxiety. ADHD factors contributing to procrastination. There can be a number of ADHD-related factors that lead to chronic procrastination, including distractibility, forgetfulness, disorganization, and problems with prioritizing, sequencing, and time management. In addition, if you have experienced repeated frustrations on certain types of tasks, you may naturally avoid those tasks to avoid the negative feelings that working on those tasks can bring up. Here are some of the factors that can be at play in the relationship between ADHD and procrastination. Problems getting started. For an adult with ADHD, just getting started on a task can often be very difficult, particularly if that task isn't intrinsically interesting. When you're so distracted by outside stimuli as well as internal thoughts, it can be hard to even make it to the starting line. Sometimes just figuring out where or how to start is the challenge. Problems with organization come into play as you struggle to prioritize, plan, and sequence tasks that need to be done to get started and stay on track. Getting sidetracked. Once you finally do get started, you may find that you quickly become sidetracked by something else more interesting. So your original tasks gets further delayed. It can be very difficult when you have ADHD to regulate your attention. Once you're able to get your attention focused on a task, you may find that it's hard to sustain that attention as your mind wanders. It can be hard to stay alert, motivated, and on track when you aren't very interested or stimulated by the task at hand. You may find that when tasks are particularly tedious or boring, you delay getting to them until the very last minute, at which point you either feel such pressure that you are able to motivate yourself to finally get started and complete the task, or you get stuck not completing the task at all and have to face the consequences. Last minute propulsion. Interesting for some people with ADHD, putting off things until the very last minute can create an emergency type situation, an urgency of sorts that helps propel you forward to successfully get the job done. The fast approaching deadline and the immediacy of the negative consequences that will follow if the deadline isn't met may help you to focus and complete the task. The problem is that this urgency can create quite a bit of stress and anxiety too, and the stress can take a tremendous toll on you as well as those around you. Inevitably, these last-minute rush jobs also tend not to be as high quality as they might have been without such procrastination. Sense of paralysis and feeling overwhelmed. On the other hand, you may experience a painful sense of paralysis when faced with a task or project, wanting to get started but unable to make progress forward in any manner. You may experience a crushing sense of pressure. As much as you know that you need to get the job done, you just can't get moving. Impaired sense of time. Sometimes it's the impaired sense of time that leads to problems with getting tasks started. If you have trouble estimating the time it takes to complete a task, you might put it off, thinking you're still allowing enough time to get it done. ADHD can make it difficult to track the passage of time as well. So you may find that those deadlines sneak up on you before you know it. Fear of failure. Sometimes there can be so much anxiety associated with starting the task that those feelings create an even greater obstacle. The fear of not doing the task correctly, fear of imperfection, and fear of failure can all add to procrastination. ADHD and procrastination often go hand in hand. Recognizing the relationship that exists between the two is helpful for understanding how they interact. This is also a good first step to finding ways to ultimately overcome your tendency to procrastinate. When I procrastinate, a lot of times my procrastination is more so due to forgetting and getting distracted because I am inattentive. My diagnosis is inattentive ADHD. I often have this difficult time staying focused on what I'm doing or remembering that this needs to get done or that this task that I am trying to work on needs to actually get started. And I do procrastinate often kind of subconsciously when it comes to things that are not something that I desire to do. Sometimes it involves cleaning the house or doing my laundry. Those are a couple examples where you kind of, instead of wanting to do those things, which are important, but they're not exactly fun or rewarding to you as far as compared to eating some ice cream or eating some candy or getting out and doing something that is really, really fun, like watching a sporting event or going to Klondike Days or the fair, right? Going to the fair is fun because you get to do things that you don't get to see all the time and do all the time, whereas, of course, doing laundry and cleaning is a weekly affair, and it becomes to the point where it's boring and repetitive and it feels like it takes too much time to do. Or you're wasting your time. So why would you want to be cleaning or doing your laundry when you could be doing something more fun or not doing anything at all, for that matter? So you have to find a way to, I guess you could say, overcome the need for procrastination. And that is difficult simply because of the fact that you often find yourself not having any sort of push behind you. A lot of people, they have this way of knowing in their mind that it's important, that it's got to get done. Whereas a lot of us, especially, the ones that have severe ADHD symptoms, they want to put it off because they see it as difficult, or they see it as uninteresting or not exciting, or it doesn't give them any kind of a dopamine hit. So they're not getting any kind of a rise or a high out of doing things that are monotonous or repetitive. Laundry is a repetitive event. It happens a lot of times for people as a weekly event. There's really no excitement or no interesting facts about it. It's just putting your clothes into the washer, putting your laundry soap in, and then turning it on. And then when it's done, you put it in the dryer and turn it on and go. And then a lot of people, especially if they're feeling any kind of tiredness, or maybe they have a deadline or something they want to do that's more fun and more interesting, the idea of folding each pair of clothing individually and doing it properly and then putting it away is even more uninteresting. So a lot of the times, instead of doing it, we just kind of leave it in the basket, and in our minds we'll say, yeah, we'll get it done later. And of course, the reality is that we don't actually get it done later is because we forget about it, or it's not important enough for us to remember or to make any kind of a note or a reminder for ourselves to go back and get it done. And half of that reason is because we don't really want to do it. So the desire and the motivation to actually make a reminder to help tell us, hey, by the way, you forgot to fold your laundry and put it away. We don't do that because it's already not something that we find interesting or exciting to do to begin with. So that already makes us less likely to make a reminder or some sort of a timer to tell us that we need to do it at some point. And more often than not, the best thing, of course, is to just get it done right away, because then the clothes cools off and you're more likely to get wrinkles in your clothing. But that's just an example. There's many different examples out there of things that cause myself to, and it's an unconscious thing. It's not something I'm consciously deciding to do. I'm not standing there going, I'm not going to do my laundry because it isn't interesting to me. It's just something that happens. It's kind of like an automated sort of event where you are automatically going, oh, I gotta fold my laundry again. Oh my God, it's laundry day already. I swear it was like last week. Where'd the week go, right? So it's like, because we're not a good manager of time, like the article said. So before you know it, it's laundry day again, just like that. And of course, because it's an event that is monotonous and boring and not at all exciting, it's more obvious to us that here we are, right? Good things that happen, fun stuff, exciting events, things that cause dopamine related hits or increases in our system, they all seem to come and go. Like it's kind of like Murphy's Law. If you're doing something that you love and that you want to do and that you enjoy and you're having a good time doing, it's going to go fast and it's going to be over before you know it. And then you're going to be standing there going, where'd the time go? What the heck? I was just doing it and all of a sudden it's over already. But of course, if you're doing something that you don't enjoy and you don't really want to do because you don't find it exciting or interesting, it's a boring thing, or you just hate doing it and it's got to get done, then that sense that time is going slow and that it's taking forever to get it done is more, it's more apparent. Even though the reality is that time's moving the same speed no matter what you're doing, whether you like to do it or not. It's just that your mind, because you're thinking about it so much, it's in your mind, and you're thinking about the fact that, for the 13th week, I got to do my laundry again. It feels like it's always coming right now. And then as you're doing it, it feels like it's taking a very long time. You're going slow. It takes forever to wash the clothes, dry the clothes, and fold it and put it away. It's because our mind is constantly going, is this going to be over? Why am I doing this? So we're really thinking about it. Like it's always in our head, right? Whether it's a negative or a positive thought, we are constantly obsessing about it. So it, for whatever reason, causes our mind to perceive time as going slower and being more obvious, rather than when we're doing something that's fun and exciting, we're so distracted by the enjoyment of what we're doing and the fun that we're having that time definitely appears as if it's going faster, and 10, 20, 30 minutes goes much, much quicker if you're not thinking about it, rather than if you're constantly thinking about it and obsessing about it because of the fact that you don't want to do this and that you find it boring and dull and you just want to get it over with. Yeah, it's one of those, it's like a Murphy's Law. When you don't want to do it, it takes a lot longer. If you do enjoy it and you're having fun doing it, it's going to be over before you know it. Okay, so I have this article that I've discovered and would like to read to you before I end this episode. The article is, "What Stops Me from Starting? Why do you procrastinate?" The problem is not poor time management. Procrastination stems from weak self-regulation of emotions and moods, which is a problem common in people with ADHD. But you can turn intentions into actions by finding your procrastination personality type and following these strategies. Why do I procrastinate? Self-regulation is to blame. You don't procrastinate because you are lazy or unorganized or even stressed out. You procrastinate because you're unable to effectively regulate your own emotions, a trademark symptom of ADHD. This is not a wild new theory. It is the finding from multiple research projects dedicated to studying procrastination. To tell the chronic procrastinator, just do it, is like telling a person with a clinical mood disorder to cheer up. It has nothing to do with time management. Research shows that procrastination avoidance actually stems from one's ability to self-regulate emotions and moods. According to Fuchsia Sirois, a professor of psychology at the University of Sheffield in England, people engage in chronic procrastination because of an inability to manage negative moods around a task. The basic notion of procrastination as a self-regulation failure is pretty clear, says Tim Seikel, associate professor of psychology at Carleton University, which has conducted extensive research on the subject. You know what you ought to do, and you're not able to bring yourself to do it. It's that gap between intention and action. Self-regulation of moods, emotions, and time is a battle people with ADHD fight every day. The wide open space that lies between the task and the time to complete it can be especially broader and harder to close for people with ADHD than it is for neurotypicals. Why do people with ADHD procrastinate more? Everyone procrastinates. People with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder aren't the only ones who stare at blank computer screens waiting for the keyboard to start typing automatically. Neurotypicals also stare into space and don't know how to begin. They, too, put off going to the dentist until their toothache is unbearable. They, too, push the tall stack of papers to the back of the desk. Procrastination is a great equalizer. But those with ADHD are masters at task avoidance. While waiting for inspiration, we eat, binge watch, scroll through social media, and do other activities that soothe our aching soul. My distraction routine usually means a dash to the kitchen for cookies, chocolate, or coffee. Even while working on this article, I had already polished my nails, eaten a bag of chips, and checked my email since starting to write earlier this morning. Eventually, I realize I'm trying to disguise the feeling of failure. Failure? Yes, indeed. While everyone experiences the anguish of procrastination, the unfinished task may actually lead individuals with ADHD to experience physical and mental pain. Planning and prioritizing, motivating, organizing, and decision-making can cause a person with ADHD to become overwhelmed and shut down. Procrastination isn't a unique character flaw or a mysterious curse on your ability to manage time, but a way of coping with your challenging emotions and negative moods induced by certain tasks. Procrastination also exacerbates these negative emotions. Once the floodgates have opened, the negative voices come rushing through. We hear parents, teachers, friends, or ourselves saying we're not good enough, smart enough, or capable of completing the task. Lots of self-control is required to begin and sustain the effort towards completion. Regulating, commanding, and controlling your thoughts and emotions is one of the most challenging aspects of ADHD. How do I fix my procrastination? To lessen the discomfort and stop procrastinating, you have to learn more about your procrastination personality type, ADHD traits, emotions, and moods. Then acknowledge which ADHD traits exacerbate procrastination and apply these practical tips to help you close the gap in getting things done. Types of procrastination. The following 6 procrastination personality types. See which one you fall under and remember it for the next step. 1. The emotionally exhausted. Intense emotions are interfering with your work. Your fears, worries, or anxiety about unrelated situations or the outcome of the project stop you from starting. 2. The dopamine desirer. You need a spark, a thrill, or a jolt to get motivated. You can't say no to a night out with friends, a meetup for coffee, or a trip to the mall. Until you have your fill of fun, your work won't get done. Kind of neat, right? The focus finder. You need to see a clearer picture of where you're going with the task. The jumbled puzzle pieces won't fit together until you see the bigger picture. 4. The deadline driver. Time doesn't make sense until the cutoff point is near. A closed deadline is the only way you can finish. 5. The paralyzed perfectionist. You can't start until everything is perfect. Overly critical of yourself, you fear failure. Perfectionism paralyzes progress. 6. The overwhelmed one. You have too many options, so you can't begin. The choices are endless. Decisions are required. You're convinced the job will never get finished. You're immovable. Procrastination solutions. Now that you've identified your procrastination type, here are 8 common emotions tied to procrastination avoidance and their accompanying solutions. 1. Fear. That's F-E-A-R. False excuses appearing real. We convince ourselves that our excuses are valid. I needed to snack to sustain my energy. My nails had to be polished because I was going to a party that evening. I had to check my email because one of them might be urgent. Solution: be honest with yourself. 2. Easily overwhelmed. The options are endless when facing a task. Where is the starting point? We get stuck and stare into space. People with ADHD have frequent, rapid thoughts that cause us to feel bombarded. Solution: have paper or an app handy to download your ideas so you can return to them later. Break your project into smaller pieces. Ask for help from a supportive friend, mentor, or therapist. 3. Overthinking things. The same thoughts keep running through your ADHD mind. Breaking this pattern requires mental strength. We fall into the what if trap, creating scenarios that torture us. Solution: be aware when you're stuck in worry. View yourself as an outsider to your thoughts. Take a walk, go for a jog, practice breathing exercises and mindfulness. 4. Blind to time. Time might not be the main reason for procrastination, but it is a factor. Procrastination is the inability to perform a task by a specific time. The concept of time is a reality we must face. Solution: set 3 alarms on your phone for each task. Find your big why. Why is the task getting the task done important to you? What is the reward? Meditate on a positive outcome. 5. The desire for dopamine. People with ADHD have a shortage of dopamine, the feel-good hormone. Boredom is painful to the ADHD brain. The yearning for a night out is stronger than the desire to finish a demanding task. Turning down an opportunity for pleasure requires willpower. Solution: put responsibility before fun. Build your mental muscles. Plan for a reward after you finish the task. If you can't resist the urge for stimulation, schedule a limited amount of time for a healthy, fun activity, then return to the job and try again. 6. Fluctuating energy levels. ADHD emotions change rapidly, and so do our energy levels. Often we tell ourselves, I'm not in the mood. I don't feel like it. I'll do it later when I feel better. But when the time comes, we still feel unmotivated. Solution: know your energy flow. Schedule the most challenging work when your energy levels are highest and you feel awake and alert. Food choices affect your mood, so pay attention to which foods help you or impair you. Exercise regularly to stabilize your moods. 7. Distressing emotion. We experience emotions intensely, and we have trouble regulating and managing them. Intense emotions adversely affect our executive functions. We harbor resentments, worry about loved ones, and fear future events. Unsettled affairs undercut our tolerance to complete a challenging task. Solution. Write down or talk about what you can change and what you have to accept. Seek help from a therapist, physician, or ADHD coach if the distress, anxiety, or anger continues. 8. Hyperfocus or lack of focus. With ADHD, we focus too intensely or lack focus entirely. Hyperfocus makes hard work more comfortable. All symptoms are in sync, and you're working efficiently. Lack of focus is mental anguish. Unfortunately, it's not easy to access hyperfocus on demand. Solution. Before you begin, clear your mind. Do something enjoyable or creative to ignite your spark. Try to work. If you're still not inspired, come back to the task later. A change of scenery will get your juices flowing. Finding the motivation to begin and sustaining the effort to reach completion requires intense self-control. With a bit of determination and a lot of desire, a person with ADHD can gain the discipline to improve his or her procrastination. All right, so there we go. It's pretty straightforward. So much of us do it, and it is something that we can improve, but we can't really completely get rid of it. It's just doesn't work that way, unfortunately. So that's just how we have to deal with it. And we just have a tendency to procrastinate because things can get difficult and we have a hard time regulating that emotional, ability to go, oh, this is terrible. I hate this. This is no fun. Well, I'm not going to do it then. And so it's a subconscious decision and thought in your mind, which is why you continue to stop and not get it done. All right, everybody, that is the end of this episode for today. If you really enjoyed this podcast, then give me a contact. Let me know what you thought. If you have any ideas for an episode, or if you would like to be a guest on the episode, there are a number of ways that you can get a hold of me. You can get a hold of me on Twitter. The handle is at ADHDandCPTSD. You can email me. The email address is livingwithadhdandcptsd@gmail.com. You can go to the website, which is www.livingwithadhdandcptsd.ca. I'd love to hear from you. I think an opinion or thought or an idea would be fantastic coming from the audience, and I'm more than welcome and open to them. If you want to become a member of my Patreon page, benefits and merchandise and exceptional access to certain things that regular people don't get to have, then do so. It's patreon.com/livingwithadhdandcptsd. You get exclusive access to all bonus material that normal people do not get to have. Plus, if you sign up for my loyalty membership, you will get free merchandise. Every 3 months, you get a new different merchandise type. There's stickers, a coffee mug, a t-shirt, and a hoodie. And it's actually not that expensive, and it's well worth it because a year later you've got 4 really cool items that you can use to show off and to help promote the show. If you want to donate instead, then you can go to ko-fi.com, ko-fi.com/livingwithadhdandcptsd. All right, everyone. First episode of the season complete. Stay tuned tomorrow for my first CPTSD episode of the season. Other than that, have a great day, and I will talk to you later. Bye, everyone.